Hello and welcome. We are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and we've just finished uploading our latest video on our passionate rant. Yeah, we got so passionate about ourselves that we forgot to add further details in regard to this comment that we received, a false accusation by this guy, Mike Cummings, who replied to us, "Let us debate this live, okay, you are a liar." So he's accusing us of being liars. And we said we'd debate him, but he'd lose the argument because he's looking in his Americanized Modern English Bible translations, be it NIV, SV, RSV, ABC or KFC. Okay, so we are going to continue with, because this comment actually was under this video here by Myth Vision. Does the Bible really endorse slavery? And we made a video to counteract that, and we showed people that there's a difference between what the Bible says, the definition of servant in that regard, and slavery later on being having slaves of the non-Jews, the foreigners, the Goyim or the Gentiles from those nations, right? There's a difference between the Jewish servant. God was talking to a Jew about having a Jewish servant, purchasing, employing. You bought one, okay, to be your bond servant, to work for you, because probably they owed a debt or something like that, right? And then you had the latter foreign slaves, say the chattel slaves, the American, the African slaves, etc. There is a great difference between the two. But this particular Myth Vision video, he tried to combine the African slavery images and stick it with the Bible images and try to stick it to the scriptures to verify to others, the subscribers, whatever. Oh, look at this nasty Christianity. They endorse slavery, and then of course everybody else jumps on board because they got the same sort of mindset, maybe the atheist, agnostic or whatever. There's always a reason behind it, even though they deny it. Oh, no. And they quote you all these Bible verses and they don't even know what it means. They don't know the difference between servant and slave in regards to those scriptures. So, here of note, we found a website which said all the ways the King James Version of the Bible changed the original text. Because people are telling us, oh no, it's perfect word for word. There's no errors, no contradictions, nothing like that. God preserved it, all this sort of stuff. When it clearly, the findings are proving them to be in error or false or lying. Here it states, the King James Bible was first published in 1611 and it quickly became the standard English translation of the Bible. But there are a number of King James Version Bible errors and mistranslations that completely altered the meaning of the original text. Yes, and we verified that. I.e., when Jesus died on the cross and apparently he said, Eloi, Eloi, etc., etc., and they translated it as my God, which is correct, but they then translated the rest as, why have you forsaken me? Whereas in the original text, the original ancient, very old Aramaic of the Tab Asheret, it says, wherefore have you left me or abandoned me? Wherefore, therefore, indicates that he was left to fulfill his destiny. Okay? God hadn't forsaken him, he hadn't forgotten him. Okay. So, the King James Bible was first published in 1611 and it quickly became the standard English translation of the Bible. But there are a number of King James Version Bible errors and mistranslations that completely altered the meaning of the original text. For example, 1631 edition ordered people to commit adultery. Yes, you read that right. The Bible has changed over time, just like depictions of Jesus slowly became whiter over time. And every translation of the Bible introduces new changes, because they're revised versions, aren't they? Well, let's make a new English version, but that's because the English language evolves, right? So you've got to keep up with it. Yeah, there's always words added to it, slang, whatever, right? Okay, so it evolves, so you've got to keep up with that. So you make a revised version, a better version. Okay, Every translation of the Bible introduces new changes. The history of the King James Bible is no exception. No exception, guy, to that person out there who says, no, it's a perfect word, etc., etc. It includes multiple mistranslations, errors, and other problems. Ever heard of the Holy Ghost? That's an error in translation. Oh, is it? Okay. It's supposed to be Holy Spirit. Oh, yeah, okay. Translation is always a challenge, but it's particularly difficult when the translators don't even know the dialect of the original text. Boom, bada boom, as was the case with the King James Bible. There you go. Okay, so they had to basically guess what it said, whether it be in the Aramaic, the Hebrew, or the Greek. The King James Bible was created in the early 17th century to placate, 1611, right? To placate England's Puritans. King James didn't like the Puritan version, etc., etc., making it a deeply political text. On top of that, the King James Bible includes fantastical creatures that seemed plausible in 1611, like unicorns and giants. It also attacks witches, who King James hated and personally tortured, but it doesn't seem like such a huge problem today. Okay, because there was apparently, from our research that we did years ago, there was a German monk who used to frequent whorehouses. That dude had a problem with the prostitutes or the promiscuous woman. He had a hatred for them, yet he kept attending it. You know, what's wrong with the guy? And then he was so mad at them, he came up with this idea about witches, warlocks, and all this sort of stuff, right? You see a lady with a black cat dusting her house, her front door. That's a witch, yeah. And he pushed it and pushed it. There was 3 top scholars of the day, and they said, "Oh, this guy's claims are rubbish," right? And they wouldn't endorse it, but he kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it until King James finally buckled and says, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, let's publish it. Yeah, let's commission it. Let's publish it, make it official." And then this is what started those witch trials, witch hunting, right? I can't remember the name of the damn thing, but led to Salem and all that sort of stuff, where they would accuse anybody. Oh, you smiled like a witch, or you had a laugh, sort of close to cackling like a witch. You're dusting and your black cat's in the way, and all this sort of crap, right? It's an excuse. So they had this guy come out there, this official, that would put everybody to the test, and he'd just make false accusations based on what the villagers said. Like a person might have not lent them a cup of sugar, right? So they say, "Oh, what a witch!" And all this sort of stuff, or whatever, whatever she did. "Oh, I saw her doing this, so that's a witch. She's a demon," and all that sort of stuff, because they had a personal grievance. And then everyone else would jump on board, going, "Oh yeah, when I was there," and they make stuff up. "Oh, I saw her doing this. Oh, I saw him doing that." Etc., etc. What was it? Something about there was an old man who befriended a younger woman or something like that. He was just talking to her, and at these accusations, they'd say, "Oh, this old man. Oh, that's right. It was on that. It's only a movie. Okay, it's on that movie with Winona Ryder and Scarlet Letter or something like that." And she says, "Oh, that old whatever it is." She called his name, was a weird name. "He used to come to me at night and try to seduce me." And he goes, "How the hell can I do that? How can I come to your house when my legs are basically stuffed? I'm crippled." "Oh, he came by spirit." See, they were making all that crap up, right? Just accusing everybody, because that's the game they were playing. Yeah. So, yeah, this was an unjustified murder, right? Murderous thing they did. What's the other one? Magna Carta. Was that like that too? Were these sort of things? Where the Spanish Church and all that Roman Catholic Church over there went and did the same sort of thing? Put people on the rack and tortured them, and 4 horses and all that sort of stuff, and pulled their arms and legs out and all that sort of crap to renounce their heretical faith and all this sort of stuff, their belief system, because it was other than the Roman Catholic Church one, was Spanish Inquisition. That's what the name of that damn thing is. Yeah, Spanish Inquisition. So these people who didn't follow that fixed doctrine or dogma of that Spanish Church or Roman Catholic Church, they were punished for it. Okay, conform, confess. Like that scarlet letter and that guy, they put rocks on him. And he says, do you have anything to say before we punish you more, or something like that? And his dying breath, he said, yeah, give me more rocks. Put more rocks on him, right? Because he wasn't going to convert. Because he knew the truth, right? That they were a bunch of clowns pushing this false doctrines, dogmas, right? Yeah. They didn't give a stuff about them. Anyway, okay, so the King James Bible was created in the early 17th century to placate England's Puritans, making it a deeply political text. On top of that, the King James Bible includes fantastical creatures that seemed plausible in 1611, like unicorns and giants. Okay, there's a lot of those sort of books out today. My Little Pony, My Little Unicorn, or whatever, right? It also attacked witches who King James hated and personally tortured, but who don't seem like such a huge problem. Did he actually do that, or was it something he promoted, and did he actually take part, and like that sort of kinky thing? Who was the King James who commissioned the King James Bible? King James I of England, or as he was known before his cousin Queen Elizabeth I died, King James VI of Scotland. Yeah, he's also been accused of being Queen James because he had chambers, according to Walter Raleigh, his closest friendly aide or something like that. His diary that says he had these secret chambers and he was sneaking into this younger guy's bed chambers, and loving him at night, and even though he's married, something like that, and then he'd heap all these rewards on him. Duke of this, and Sheriff of that, and Notting Not of that, and whatever, all these titles. And he wondered, why the hell's this guy got so many titles? Yeah, should a guy have that much? What's going on? Okay, so King James I of England, or as he was known before his cousin Queen Elizabeth I died, King James VI of Scotland was the first Stuart king of England. So he was a Scotsman, and he sat on the English throne. He ascended to the throne during a tense moment for religion. The Reformation, that's when the Martin Luther in Tinsdale and that got up and said, hey, there's some errors here, this is not right, Roman Catholic Church, Mother Church, you need to reform and change. Basically change your understanding, your outlook, and the way you react to the church, all that sort of stuff, etc., etc. The Reformation was still in full swing, and its two predecessors on the English throne, Queen Elizabeth I and Queen Mary I, also known as Bloody Mary, had both undertaken religious persecutions. Mary executed at least 250 Protestants. Those were who were part of that Catholic Church who protested. They wanted a reform. Later on, they broke away and became Protestants, today's Protestants, but they still kiss up to the Pope. They're still affiliated through their garb or through their dress, through their Pentecostal Easter traditions that they perform, right? All that sort of stuff, Lent and whatever. They still are attached to them. We saw a video on Kenneth Copeland sucking up to the Pope, saying, "Oh, Your Majesty," and all this sort of stuff. Like he's, really kissing something more than his ring on his hand. Okay, so Mary executed at least 250 Protestants, while Elizabeth banned the Catholic Mass and seized the goods of anyone found with a rosary. So they're both just as bad as each other. The Protestants, King James Lot, and these Marys and Elizabeth, right? By the time James came along, members of the Church of England who considered existing versions inaccurate and insufficient were actively requesting a new English translation. So the people were asking for that, right? The members of the Church of England. So the Church of England was reformed, was already up and running before King James came along, right? By the looks of it. James approved a new translation of the Bible, a text Anglicans could more readily embrace. To carry out this task, he commissioned a new iteration. To translate 47 Anglican scholars were organised across Westminster, Cambridge and Oxford, with Archbishop of Canterbury Richard Bancroft supervising the edition. Yeah. The goal of the King James Bible was deeply political. We can find that particular version online and do a video on that if you request it. Subscribe to our channel. give us a like. Let us know in the comments below the video, and we'll find it and do that for you. Okay. King James wanted to protect Britain from a contentious religious war like the ones that had torn France and Germany apart in the 16th century. So he appointed a committee of 54 scholars, and there's heaps more information there because we're digressing, and this will end up being a 2 or 3 hour video. Okay, there we go. We're going to go through that. Unicorns, wicked Bible ordered men to commit adultery. So there it is there, the evidence. Thou shalt commit adultery from your King James. Oh, it's perfected. The words are perfect. There's no contradictions or anything, errors in there. No. What's this? Thou shalt commit adultery. In 1631 edition of the King James Bible, a printing error, okay, it was an error, completely changed the 10 Commandments. Instead of the old standards, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, this Bible left out one very important word. It commanded, thou shalt commit adultery. Whoops. The printer, Robert Barker, was given a heavy fine and his printing license was revoked. It's taken away from him, right? King Charles I ordered all 1,000 copies of the so-called Wicked Bible to be burned. Only about 10 copies remained, and in 2015 one sold for over $40,000. So it was worth something to somebody, right? And the Holy Ghost was never meant to be a ghost. Well, that would be interesting. In 1611 no one realised that the Greek New Testament was not written in classical Greek. Oh jeez, really? Okay, so it wasn't in Koine Greek? Oh my gosh! The committee that King James assigned to translate the Bible into English thought that the Greek texts were written in classical Greek, but they were wrong. The New Testament was written in Koine Greek, a common dialect that differed from the more scholarly classical Greek. In fact, Koine Greek had been dead for 1,000 years in 1611. Boom, bada boom. There you go. So they messed up, right? Yeah, they got it wrong. Koine Greek. That's the closest to the original Aramaic. Akin, it's called akin to the ancient Aramaic. The original ancient, very old, not this modern vernacular, right? Or the Syriac or whatever. Okay. So if you translated that original Koine Greek into English, you would have a near duplicate of those original ancient Aramaic manuscripts. Yeah, they'll be pretty close. They'll be pretty close to each other, right? Several Greek words, but you'd have to translate it into that nearest English equivalent, right? And then you'd look at Victor Alexander's translation and you say, yeah, okay, it's pretty much the same. Yeah, maybe a little, because there always be a little bit of English differences, right? In that language, right? Because there's a lot of times where something like Milta, there is no English equivalent, right? So this Victor and Alexander had to find a word, probably through the definition that would match it, right? Milta, which was the manifestation, okay? That which was not revealed, and then it was suddenly revealed. It was there, but no one knew about it, okay, until it was revealed. Yeah. In other words, Jesus came as God incarnate. Yeah. God in flesh. Yeah, according to that New Testament. Several Greek words gave the translators of the King James Bible trouble because they didn't know Koine Greek. Booty bam, bida boom. There you go. They didn't know Koine Greek. The committee was made up of specialists in classical Greek, and they believed that strange phrasing in the Greek New Testament was proof that it had been written in the language of the Holy Spirit. It wasn't until the 19th century that scholars realised the Greek New Testament was written in a completely different dialect. Okay, there you go. In the King James Bible, Jesus orders men to hate their fathers and mothers. Okay. Because the Greek New Testament was written in Koine Greek, certain words were mistranslated. One of the trickiest words was the Greek term miseo. The King James Bible translates this as hate. Because of this, in Luke 14:26, Jesus tells his followers, if any man comes to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life, he cannot be my disciple. But in the Aramaic, the ancient Aramaic, the Galilean Aramaic, it actually does say that. Yeah, well, that's a translating it from the original, right? Okay, so it does say that. Okay, so we don't believe they're wrong there. Okay, it's like you can't stand their lifestyle. They're like pressuring you, saying, mate, they might be gender bend or whatever, however you put it, and they're pushing it, and they're giving you crap because you believe in the Christ, God, the Christ, etc. Right? You're trying to live that righteous life. and you just get sick of it, right? You had enough of it, so you detest the lifestyle they're living. Like around you, it's like sick. Yeah, it's just generated into sick, right? They're ill in the head. You got to get out of there, right? Okay, so you forsake all of them, right? You say, "Oh, look, I really want to be walking and talking in the Spirit. I'm a Christian. You know, this is what I want to do. Stop giving me crap because I believe. Okay, it's part of the suffering, whatever. I understand if you have the understanding, but it's like I just can't take it anymore. I can't live my life living amongst the sickness, right? So you got to forsake them for the sake of following God and the Christ. But in his day, he was talking to those people that were walking with him. He says, if you don't dislike or hate or however it's phrased, your mother, your father, etc., etc., and follow me, then you can't be my disciple. Well, it's like basically he's saying, if you don't get out of there and leave them, and then follow me, how can you be a disciple? Right? How can I discipline you? How can you come under this discipline? Because you're not with me, right? It's like some of them say, "Oh yeah, I'd like to do that, but I've got a sick mother, or my brother just died, I've got to bury him, or that." Let the dead bury the dead. Let them take care of it. If you're going to come be my disciple, if you're saying, "Yeah, I'll come follow you," okay, you've got to give up all. It's a sacrifice. You know, it's like, "Oh yeah, but you're not going to be there to follow him, to get disciplined, all that sort of stuff, to follow his disciplines, his teachings, whatever." Yeah, logic and common sense. Drop everything that you're doing if you want to follow me, for my sake. If you want to follow me, all right? If that's what you really want to do. Are you going to do it, or are you not? You better hurry up. You've got so much time before we're out of here, you know? That sort of thing. You know? Oh, poor guy, he had an excuse, he couldn't follow me. How sad for that guy, you know? One of the most famous lines of the King James Bible, at least in witchcraft studies, is Exodus 22:18. "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." This line was used to justify England's major witch hunts. And when self-appointed witch-finder General Matthew Hopkins included it on the front of his pamphlet about catching witches. In the 1640s, during England's Civil War, Hopkins was single-handedly responsible for killing 300 people. He used the King James Bible as a religious justification for hunting and executing witches. But the entire thing was a mistranslation from the Hebrew word mek has shepa. The Bible warned against poisoners, not witches. Greek translations of the Old Testament transformed the Hebrew word mek has shepa into the Greek pharmakeia, if that's how you say it. But neither word means witch. Mek has shepa likely meant a herbalist or a poisoner. When the word was first translated into Greek by Jewish sages around the 3rd century BCE, they used the Greek word pharmakeia, which also meant herbalist or poisoner. Where exactly did the King James Bible get witch? The King James Bible was being translated in the middle of the European witch trials. In the 17th century, witches were known for killing people by invisible means, like poisoners. As many as 100,000 people were executed for witchcraft in the 16th and 17th centuries, so it was easy to insert witches into the Bible if they wanted to kill them. Plus, King James had a personal reason to hate witches. King James believed witches had tried to kill him, and he personally tortured suspected witches, and so forth. Okay, there's the history there. King James warns us about giants. For 400 years, the King James Bible has been the most quoted book in the English language. The English language. The King James Bible was written in 1611 to prevent religious wars in England. It didn't succeed. In the 1640s, England was caught in a civil war that threatened to tear it apart. Puritans and other religious minority groups found themselves at war with the Anglicans, exactly what King James had hoped to prevent. Okay. So, we are looking at Exodus 21, verse 1, and these are the laws that you shall consecrate before them. Okay, you establish or make known before them, right? This is from the original ancient, very old Lishana Artika of the Aramaic, the Assyrian Aramaic or Aramaic, Tav Asheret, translated into the nearest English equivalent by native-born Aramaic-speaking translator Victor E. Alexander from Betnarain or Mesopotamia, Syria. He's had 20 to 30 years experience in translating these. We have built up a relationship with that older man, tried to catch him out for the last 4 or 5 years that we had contact with him. He's quite an older man, may have some medical problems, in and out of hospital because he's old. He's like 70. Yeah, but we found him to be a very lovely man, and we put our trust in him because, as we said, we couldn't catch him out. Yeah, and he wasn't trying to trick us or pull the wool over our eyes or anything like that. He was he's a genuinely honest man. Okay, Exodus 21, 1 verse 1, and these are the laws that you shall consecrate before them. When you make someone, it's got a footnote indication right there. Okay, we'll have a look at that in a minute. When you make someone a Jewish servant, he shall work for you 6 years, and on the 7th he shall go out a free man from your house. If you are an African slave or of that sort, you are not free. You're not able to go free. Okay, you can run away, get caught, be brought back, punished, but you cannot be free. Okay, because you are their property. They may have purchased you. You have to do all they say, get beatings, abuse, whipped, all that sort of stuff, according to that history, those facts, right? You can look for them online. There's plenty of people out there that'll show you those facts. We even did a video on a book which was banned, or it wasn't printed in 1857, but printed in 1864, where these people claimed that they had the right, according to the scriptures, to have cheap labour, to have slaves, to beat them, abuse them, etc., etc. That's a shocking book. We've read it. Have you? When you make someone a Jewish servant, let's say servant, a Jewish servant, this is God talking to a Jew or a Hebrew or an Israelite, he shall work for you 6 years, and on the 7th he shall go out a free man from your house. If he has entered alone, one single person, he shall go out alone. But if he is the husband to a wife, the wife goes out with him. Okay, there's some options there for him. And if his lord or his master gives him a wife, the one that he's working for or under, and she gives birth to sons and daughters for him, the wife and her children will belong to his lord, and he goes out alone. And if the servant, there it is again, servant, not slave, says that I have compassion for my lord, my wife and children, I do not wish to go out free, etc., etc. Okay. And when a man sells his daughter to be a Jewish servant, she shall not leave the male servant. Okay? It doesn't say slave, it says servant, for those out there who are reading their silly NIV, ESV, Americanized Bible translation. Okay, we'll have a look at Bible Hub. Do you have Bible Hub here? Bible Hub. Okay, it has all your versions. Okay, your Americanized English Bible versions. It's all listed here. New International Version. That this person said that this is what it says there, and then called us a liar. It actually says teach slaves. Okay, New Living, slaves. English Standard, bondservants. Berean, slaves. Berean, literal. Servants, King James, servants. New King James, bondservants. New American, slaves. NASB, bondslaves. And on and on and on. Okay, so why is it going slaves, servants, bondservants? Right, they're all different versions with different wording. Aramaic Bible in plain English, let servants, not slaves. Okay. Contemporary, then it changes to slaves. Douay Rheims, servants, servants, slaves, slaves, slaves. See? It's all different because they're all different translations, because they're not sure of what the word actually says in the originals, because they don't have the originals. Okay? They don't have a gateway to those originals, or they're completely ignoring them because they're coming from the East. They want to ignore the Eastern theology and ignore the Eastern terminology in favour of the Western theology and the terminology. And that's where they get it all wrong. Okay? So they want you to be believing in their versions because they've got a hidden motive, an agenda. Possibly a lot of propaganda there. It's all political. Okay? They want to control you. When will people wake up and realise this? This is what we're trying to show people, right? Trying to reveal to people. don't come out of saying, oh, this is the infallible, irrefutable word of God, and we find or we show you that it has contradictions or errors, translation errors, bad interpolations, bits taken away, bits added, New World Order added to the wording, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, you need to really, really do the research. If you don't match what research we've done with your, your knowledge or whatever, you haven't done the research. Okay. If we show you and you get all snotty, uppity, you lose your cool, something's wrong there, mate. Okay. Why have you suddenly decided, oh, I'll act like a child and retort, and I'll say this and I'll make false accusations, or whatever, right? Because, like Christ said, that truth is a double-edged sword, okay, and it cuts to the very marrow, okay. That's why when he comes back, his wording, his voice, his mouth, what comes out of his mouth is like a two-edged sword, because it's the truth. It'll cut men in half to the very bone. They can't handle the truth, right? The truth hurts. Like that, what's it, Jack Nicholson? You can't handle the truth, right? He's on that movie, it's not a movie, but basically it's right. You can't handle the truth. Okay, so that has different translations here coming from your modern Bible versions, be they 1966 to 76 or whatever, these are the dates there, right? Whatever year they came from. Because these are revisions. Yeah, so here it is here. Here's the evidence, revised. Okay? Revised Standard Version. Young's literal translation, see? And these people have the audacity to come to us and call us liars. Here's the evidence. It's right here. How can you deny the evidence? That 1 minute it says slaves, one version says slaves, another one says bondservants, another one says servants. Okay, another one goes back to slaves. They don't know what that word actually was, because they don't have access to the original manuscripts, as we do, through that Aramaic translator, who's done the work. Yeah? Here's the definition of servant. For those who say, oh, servant is a slave, slave is a servant. You obviously didn't do your definitions properly, so you got some misunderstoods, or some definitions that you haven't got correctly defined. Servant, one who is privately employed to perform domestic services. Well, I have a job, I'm employed, so I perform domestic services. I'm a servant. I'm a public servant, a civil servant. I provide service in a hotel restaurant. It doesn't make me a slave, yeah, but I'm a slave to the job. If they don't pay me properly, if they abuse me and misuse me and give me crap and pay me stink wages, yeah, I'm going to react and say, oh, I feel like a slave in this damn job. Yeah, treat me like a slave. They want you to do everything. Do it now. Hurry up. Move. You're too slow. You're too fast. And just to give you crap all the time. Yeah, and they make you like clean the floor for a toothbrush and all that sort of cruel shit or cruel stuff, right? Sorry about that. Cruel stuff. Right, because that's basically what it is. And all this sort of stuff, because they think it's funny. Because they got that power. They think they got that power. They might just not be quite a supervisor yet, but they've gone up in the ranks and the power gets to their head. They're on a power trip. So they try this stuff on you, or they say to you, oh, we've got to do this job and this job, and then the supervisor tells you, what the hell are you doing outside? At 2 a.m, people jump the fence. Maybe there's some ashtrays or something like that there for cigarettes or whatever. They just jump the fence, they kick the gate, and to get that sort of stuff, they could attack you, Especially a woman shouldn't be out there at 2 a.m. all alone doing that job, and a guy jumps over, she'll freak out, right? Me, I'd hit the guy put him in a submission hold, or hit him with the ashtray to protect that woman, They're going to stand there and go, please jump back over the fence, don't do that while she's getting a hiding. That's stupid. Okay. So this is the definition of servant. Yeah. Now compare it with what the scriptures actually say, the original ancient Aramaic scriptures. It's God talking to a Israelite or a Hebrew or a Jew about purchasing or buying or whatever or obtaining a Jewish servant. So it's one Jew getting another Jew as a servant. Okay? It doesn't say as a slave. And there's all these God's commandments there. Okay? All these things happen. So this is what you'll do. Okay? Because they got rights as well. And here is the footnotes from the translator. In 21:2:1, first time the word Jew or Jewish is introduced in the Old Testament. 21:2:2 for those who came at us and said all this false rubbish. 21:2:2, literal Aramaic idiomatic construction. That's the expression, right? That's how they express themselves. It's reconstructed, right? As you buy a Jewish servant, not slave, 6 years he works for you, and by the 7th he exists, son of the free from you. In other words, you have to let him go. Okay, he's free. Yeah, it's like letting your son go, right? Or your free son to go and do whatever you want, right? So it's basically that's just the way they word it, right? Okay, 21:7. 21:7. And when a man sells his daughter to be a Jewish servant, Jewish man sells his Jewish daughter to be a Jewish servant, she shall not leave the male servant. Yeah? If she does not find favour in the eyes of her lord or her master and is not designated, she will be set free. They have no authority to sell her to a foreign nation. If they sell her to a foreign nation, then she will be a slave. Get it? Yeah? Same as if you buy one from a foreign nation, a Gentile, a non-Jew, they are a slave. Okay? Because she was lied to. Look at the footnotes down here. From outside the nation, placed in the service of one of his children. Okay? Etc., etc. And here's all the explanations of those idioms there. Okay? And here's some more rules here. Exodus 22. Probably repeating the same thing, but. And Exodus 23. This is all the rules for the Jews from God to Jews. Right? And he's telling them this is what you must do 3 times a year. Hold a feast to me. Okay? And he goes on about Moses. Okay, here's your Leviticus from your Americanized Bible versions. Okay, it goes on about the Sabbath, the year of the Jubilee. Probably further down should have something about slaves. Where are we? Cover a bit more. Follow my decrees and be careful to obey my laws, and you will live safely in the land, or in that land you're occupying, right? Then the land will yield its fruit, and you will eat your fill and live there in safety. So that's why a lot of these countries who are not of God have these problems, supposedly. You may ask, what will you eat in the 7th year? Da, 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 da. And all these rules here. It's for the benefit of the people who are in that land, his people, right? If you don't obey, follow those instructions, well then you're not going to yield any fruit, are you? Any fruit, whatever, that you've planted, right? But he also says, if any of your fellow Israelites become poor and unable to support themselves among you, help them as you would a foreigner and a stranger. So you help everybody, no matter who they are, so they can continue to live among you or amongst you. Do not take interest or any profit from them. Apparently in Israel that's what these Jews do in regards to their land, because they don't want to work. They don't want to go to America and work when they can make money there off people that are working for them. See? But fear your God so that you may continue to live among you. That's what this grandma said on this video. She admitted, yeah, we don't want to work. Why should we go to America, to a foreign land? We have to work. Well, we could just stay here. We got our land, pieces of land, and we can make others work for us. Get rich off their back, their effort, right? And there's some rules there. Yeah. Here's Titus. Teach slaves to be subject to the masters and everything, to try to please them, not to talk back. Well, that's your new translations, right? Where are we? Servant. Etymology. The origins of that word. Servant, male or female person or domestic attendant. One owing duty of service to a master or lord. One employed by another and subject to his orders. You're in their service. You're in a state of servitude, not slavery. Okay? Here's a definition here. Are you going to doubt this online etymological dictionary? These experts giving you that definition, or the Britannica, which is 250 years old, Encyclopedia Britannica? Are you going to say, no, expert, I know better than you? That doesn't mean that. Okay? Okay, so it's around about 1200. Year 1200. Servant, male or female, person or domestic attendant, one owing duty of service to a master or a lord. One employed, she's got a job, or hired by another and subject to his orders. From Old French, servant, foot soldier. He's in the service of this master, right, in the military. He's marching forward. He's giving his life for his king, God, or master, whatever. Now, use of servant, serving, waiting, present participle of server, to attend, wait upon. So you're waiting upon that person to provide them a service. From early 14th century as a slave, also used of bees. In North American colonies and in the US, it was the usual designation for slave. 17 CC, etc. And later in biblical translations, the word often was used to render Latin service. Greek, doulos, slave. In regards to non-Jews, to foreign, to peoples of other nations. That's why it says if you buy a slave from a foreign nation, it's not saying if you buy a Jewish servant. Okay? Definition of slave: one who is owned as the property of someone else, especially in involuntary servitude. So there's a definition there. See the difference? As a servant, you are employed. Okay? You're owned, but you're doing a service. But as a slave, you're owned as the property of someone else. In involuntary servitude. Like they've got you, they've captured you, made you their slave, they beat you, mistreat you, etc. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't be free. If you run away, they'll catch you and they'll bring you back and they'll beat you, etc., mistreat you. The only way you're going to be free is if somebody buys your freedom, or buys your freedom and you produce a certificate or a paper that is recognised that you are a free man. Watch the movie Roots. Anything related to that? Right? 12 years a slave, etc. And it'll basically verify because it's based on historical facts. Okay. One who is owned as the property of someone else, especially in involuntary servitude. One who is subservient or subservient to or controlled by another. So this person is like the African slave. He's seen as lower than his master, and he's controlled by that master or that slave master or his worker, whoever. He's always seen as lower, be it in race or status or whatever, to his master. One who is subject to or controlled by a specific influence. So I'm a slave to drugs. I'm a slave to sexual websites. I'm a slave to coffee. Right? I'm addicted to it. Right? It's got me. Okay? I'm bound by it. I'm chained to it. Slave definition and meaning, Merriam-Webster. It's there. Slave, English meaning. Slave definition and meaning. It's all there. So you're going to go up against these people who know the definitions, put these definitions in these dictionaries, etc., and say, oh, I know better than you. No, that's not what it means. Or Bible comparisons between servant and slave, and say, no, that's not right. I know what it means. You don't. Huh? Slavery is the ownership of a person as property, especially in regards to their labour. Slavery typically involves compulsory work, with the slave's location of work and residence dictated by the party that holds him in bondage. Okay? So you're chained to them, you're bound by them, you can't get away. Enslavement is the placement of a person into slavery. So you're not employed, you've got a job, you might get some benefits like, you got your own room, bed, TV, whatever. Okay? And you get some sort of recompense. Right? No board, no rent, all this food, etc., etc. Whereas a slave, you basically got nothing. Right? You're living in the dirt, you got no blankets, you got nothing. You get mistreated, beaten, all that sort of stuff, beaten, whatever, right? As you see on those American slave movies, like 12 Years a Slave, Roots, all that sort of stuff, right? That's the difference between the biblical servant and the biblical slavery, which is if you buy or purchase or obtain a foreign, non-Jew, Gentile, and you take him home as a slave, etc., etc. Okay? There is a vast difference. People, please learn it. Stop coming at us with all this BS saying we're lying, because we are providing you with all the facts, the definitions, the links to the sources, etc., etc. from experts. We're not making it up. So why would you say we were lying? And yet you come at us with nothing. Zada, nilch. No sources, no links to sources, no evidence, nothing. Okay. It's just clear, this video is just clear to show you this is what people do to us. Right? They try to come at us like that. It's unfair. Okay. We don't come at them like that. Okay. Whether you're atheist or Christian or whatever, we don't play that game. Okay. We're here as the ministry of the real truth to bring you the whole truth, the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. No fluff, no hype, no silly nonsense. None of this trolling, bullying, all this sort of crap, and saying, you're a dummy, you're a liar, because my Bible says this, because my church says this, all this sort of stuff, right? We are bringing you what the scriptures originally say, right? What they actually say and what they mean in those original languages. Don't come at us and say, oh, in the Hebrew, or in the Greek, and you don't even speak Greek. You don't understand it. You don't have a reference to what those words, a definite definition of what those words are. You're just trying to throw all the scriptures at us, throw what you think it means. Yeah? You don't know what it means. It's all here, right? The evidence that you don't is all here, right? And come at us with, oh, this is the perfect word of God, all this sort of stuff, when we verify the facts that it isn't. Yeah? So you're just fooling yourself. Yeah? You're lying to yourself. You haven't done the research. You've heard it from somebody else, and you're like a parrot and you're repeating it. Because you're probably too lazy to do the research. You might make out you've done the research. You might just have heard it or just looked at one website. That's it. You haven't looked at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different opinions and summed it up and says, okay, well, this guy's an expert, this guy's not, this doesn't make sense, well, this actually does, it's verified here. So you need to establish the facts, right? You make these facts, these claims of facts. You need to establish the facts. Yeah? How do you establish the facts? Then you need to find the evidence that proves itself evident. And you need to look at the writers or the authors of these scripts, these ancient scripts, these biblical scripts, anything, right? And do the research on them to prove that their writings are irrefutable. You can't deny them. They're infallible, right? You can say, oh, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. But at the end of the day, they're infallible. Say your crap doesn't stick, right? Basically. Yeah, what you were saying, trying to debunk it, it proves itself irrefutable and infallible. So in turn, that deems that writer as irrefutable and infallible. So you've got to do that research there, right? Okay? Rather than go, oh, yeah. When you don't have any, you haven't established the facts, you haven't got the evidence, and you haven't got the proof that that's irrefutable or infallible. Yeah? Like people say, oh, the word of God is infallible, it's irrefutable, all that sort of stuff. But it can't be if there's errors in those translations. So this is why God provided and preserved, hid and preserved these original manuscripts, be it the Khabouris Codex, etc., etc., for that reason, because God or Jesus the Christ, Jesus the Messiah, knew beforehand that somebody was going to mistranslate it, okay, and is going to lead lots of people to hell or whatever, oblivion, okay, like that guy in the video we did of about where he supposedly went to hell and he saw a false prophet there. Joseph Smith, he preached all that stuff. It looks like he worshipped that angel of God that he supposedly said was, showing them a plate, all that sort of stuff. He was totally lying. He was worshipping this golden demon, what it was, this bright demon, right, and all this sort of stuff, and he was paying for it in hell. He was still doing what he was doing, preaching to all the masses, but down below, but they were yelling at him, and it got louder and louder and louder. You liar, you big fat liar, what you told us was a load of crap. Okay? You tricked us, that's why we're here. Come down here and we'll beat you up, tear you apart. Because you're the reason why we're here. Okay? Because you're false religion, whatever. And then a little girl, supposedly his daughter, comes along and says, Daddy, why did you lie to us? Because he was nobody. There's probably nobody. He wanted to be somebody, right? So he put himself out there and he became popular. He was just an ordinary farm boy or whatever to start off with. And then I guess he was open, gullible to demon persuasion, and he made up all this crap. And then he preached it as the truth, and people are still following it today. And they think it's true, right? And then along comes the TV news saying, oh, okay, it was just found diaries being found on Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormonism, etc., the Latter-day Saints. He had 40 wives on the side, and they were all underage. So that causes the people within that Latter-day Saint church or whatever movement in America to suddenly leave. Their losses, their numbers have gone down, right? And then you meet some other Mormon that says, oh, yeah, okay, that did happen, it's true. But now we've got a new prophet. Okay, a modern prophet, right? It's still pushing the false teachings of Joseph Smith, isn't it? Okay, unless that guy becomes he's that prophet and he comes up with new stuff and they start pushing that, right? And then you find out that that's rubbish as well. Okay, there's heaps of different religions out there, cults, movements, Hebrew Israelites, whatever, okay, that are doing the same thing. Oh, where the God was black, Jesus was black, Solomon was black, the devil was black, his name is Yahu, Wahu, Wahu, Wuhush, Yahu, Wushi, 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 making up all this stuff. We can understand, we sympathise with them because they've lost their African identity. So they're looking for something, right? They're looking for their identity, and they found it in the scriptures. So they make out that they are of the 12 tribes of Israel, all this stuff. And yet they curse white people because the white people's forefathers made their people slaves and all this sort of stuff. There's still that hatred there, right? An innocent white person walks past and they're like, hey, you stupid cracker, or something like that, something really derogative to them. Does the white person come along and say, hey, you stupid, the N-word? No, that would start a conflict, wouldn't it? And then these Hebrews are like saying, oh, one day we're going to do this to you, and we're going to have guns, and we're going to, all this sort of crap. All this make-up crap, right? They even do it to their own black community. Okay? This guy, Polite, or Sarah Netta TV, he went mental over this group that said, if the black woman, if the black children, we're going to abuse them, and no. If the black community, all this sort of stuff, is like they're in that community, he wanted to get rid of them because they're idiots. They're stupid, right? They're black people going against black people because saying, oh, I'm not African, we're true Jews, but they won't follow the true Jew traditions, right? You can't be a Jew if you're not following those traditions, those customs, those rituals, making the matzah bread, the feasts and all that sort of stuff, right? Okay? So when you become converted to Judaism, you get taught all that stuff. Okay? You're a Jewish convert. But if you're on the outside saying, I'm a Jew, I'm this, I'm that, and you refuse to practice what they do, you're not a Jew. You're not a Hebrew, you're not an Israelite, you're nothing. You're just a wannabe. Okay? So again, we're going to have to get off this because we'll be here for the next 3 hours. or 4 hours or 5 hours because they're so passionate about bringing people the truth, right, the real truth, the whole truth, etc., etc. So we're going to end it there. We really hope that this opened your eyes, made you more aware to all the hype and fluff out there. You're being told and sold all this rubbish. Okay? So we are the ministry of the real truth. We feel that it's what we're supposed to do, yeah, to reveal it, the truth out there, right, about these scriptures through the ancient original scriptures. Okay? Okay, so bear with us. Yeah, subscribe to our channel. Give us a like, add your comments underneath, and we'll get back to you on those. And then go share this video. Hopefully it wakes up other people out there who feel that they've been duped, tricked, told and sold a whole truckload of lies, falsities, etc. Tell them about us. Tell them to come check out our videos. And thank you for taking the time to view this, our latest video upload.